Ladies and gentlemen, I have great pleasure in welcoming you all to this program to celebrate International Human Rights Day. All of you are aware that the Universal Declaration on Human Rights was passed by the UN General Assembly on 10th December 1948, and 10th December is being celebrated as the International Human Rights Day throughout the world after that. It commemorates the day on which, that is in 1948, United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. In 1950, the Assembly passed a resolution inviting all states and interested organizations to observe 10th December of each year as Human Rights Day. Every year, Voice for Justice conducts this program on the occasion of the International Human Rights Day, in which eminent speakers are invited to address the gathering. The objective of this meeting is to bring awareness among the people, citizens, of the need for protecting human rights. I hope by holding such meetings, we from Voice for Justice are able to bring to limelight the importance of human rights in our day-to-day life. I have great pleasure in welcoming Mr. Justice P.N.Prakash, former Judge of Madras High Court. I have great pleasure in welcoming His Lordship and thank him for agreeing to deliver a speech on encounter killing and custodial deaths. I also welcome Sri A.R.L.Sundaresan, Additional Solicitor General, who is on the way, for accepting our invitation to preside over this meeting. I welcome other senior advocates of this Madras High Court, law officers of the central and state governments who have accepted our invitation and are taking time off their busy schedule to attend this meeting. Finally, I welcome the advocates, social workers, and eminent citizens who have responded to our invitation and gracing this function. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before we proceed further, we recognize the presence of Mr. Karthikeyan, Presiding Officer of the First Additional Labour Court, Chennai. Vanakkam, sir. We now request Shri S. Ravi, Advocate and Trustee, to provide an introduction of Voice for Justice organization to our guests.
Good evening to everybody. Justice P.N.Prakash, Mr. Karthikeyan, Presiding Officer of Labour Court, and advocates. This Voice for Justice as a concept was envisioned about during 2010. It was formed as a trust. The object behind formation of this organization is to bring about a change in the narrative, to bring about proper facts in the public domain in respect of major incidents that happen throughout the country. Similar such organizations have been functioning throughout the country in almost all parts of the state. The inspiration started during the Godhra riots, when a lot of innocent persons were arraigned as accused and were prosecuted before various criminal courts in Gujarat. So the Supreme Court, while disposing of the batch of petitions and constituting the SIT, permitted NGOs to assist the accused during the trial process. Taking this as an inspiration, the first such initiative was formed in Gujarat. Nearly 2,000 advocates were engaged to render legal assistance to several accused. As far as Voice for Justice is concerned, our first major project was during 2012, when we were called upon to investigate what has now become famous, Love Jihad. All of you would have seen the movie. During 2012, it all started with a case before the Kerala High Court, where a father filed a habeas corpus petition stating that his daughter has been abducted and forced into a marriage with a person belonging to another religion, and the marriage was not voluntary. When that news came into the public domain, similar such incidents were reported throughout Kerala and also in Karnataka. So we formed a fact-finding committee comprising of, headed by Justice Surendra Bhargava, former Chief Justice of the High Court of Sikkim, and Mr. T.S. Rao, former Director General of Police of Andhra Pradesh, and Mr. Gurusharan Gill, former Advocate General of the Government of Rajasthan, and Dr. Swarna Raval, a member of the NGO for Development of Nomadic Tribes in Bhiwandi, Maharashtra. So this committee held its sitting nearly for 3 to 5 days in various parts of Kerala, investigated the issue, interviewed the victims and their parents, and brought about a comprehensive report which was submitted to the Governor of Kerala. And quite ironically, after 10 years, when the issue of lot of innocent girls from Kerala being hijacked to the ISIS camps in Iraq and Syria was brought into light, the report, fact-finding report prepared by Voice for Justice, was cited as a resource material to show that this practice has been prevalent in Kerala for nearly about 10 to 15 years. And because of the inaction on the part of the government, nearly about 60 innocent girls are still languishing in various prisons in Iraq and Syria because they have been brainwashed into the ISIS ideology. Second major project was during the 2014 election called Be a Voter. Normally during any general election, especially in Chennai, the educated elite do not cast their votes. That is actually treated as a holiday. So in order to create an awareness among the educated masses to exercise their franchise, we conducted a program called Be a Voter in association with the State and Central Election Commission, encouraging citizens to cast their vote during election. An awareness program was conducted in which Mr. Ajit Doval, the present National Security Advisor, he attended a meeting, a well-attended meeting on national security. We have been organizing similar such programs throughout the country. One of the highlights is the International Human Rights Day, which is celebrated by our organization every year. We have invited eminent judges, past and present, who have given speeches on varied topics pertaining to human rights. And we have the benefit of Mr. Justice P.N.Prakash, an expert in criminal law. And I can tell you that there is no other person, better person, who can speak about this issue because he has the advantage of being on both sides, both as a prosecutor as well as a person who had fought for the accused. He was for a very long time a public prosecutor who has distinguished himself in the Madras High Court and later on as a judge of the Madras High Court. The inspiration for this subject came from two things. One is with regard to encounter killings. There has been a recent spurt in encounter killings, which you would have noticed, especially in Chennai and Tamil Nadu. The statistics show that nearly 80 encounter deaths have taken place within a span of nearly 1 year, or rather 2 years, in the state of Tamil Nadu. Quite recently, in fact, I came across several cases within a span of few months, starting from August 23 till date. First is on 16/9/23, the encounter killing of an accused called as Kulla Vishwa in Sunguvar Chatram. Then on 1st August 23, two accused, Vinod and Ramesh, killed in an encounter in Guduvanjeri. On 12th October, two history sheeters, Muthu Saravanan and Sunday Satish, were killed in an encounter in Sholavaram. In fact, I had occasion to see the YouTube in which the father of this Muthu Saravanan, he went on to make a statement saying that his son was actually arrested in Delhi and brought back to Chennai and killed in an encounter. Recently, on 22/11/23, one accused by name Kumban Jagan was killed in a police encounter in Trichy. In fact, Trichy has become the nodal point for these type of encounter killings. And in all these cases, we'll find that all these persons who have been killed, there are nearly about 50 to 80 murder cases or attempt murder cases pending against them, and that is seen as shown as a justification for their encounter killings. And we have with us Justice Prakash, and I am sure that he will throw some light on the legal issues arising out of these encounter killings. As far as custodial death is concerned, as his lordship pointed out during his personal conversation with me, that is a separate subject. But if you want to have a proper glimpse of what this custodial death is, I would encourage you to read the book written by Justice Chandru, Nanum Needhipadi Anen, where he has chronicled all the cases relating to encounter deaths which he has handled both as an advocate as well as a judge of the High Court. The custodial deaths, in fact, came to limelight during the death of two accused in Satankulam. It became a sensational issue in state of Tamil Nadu. During that time also we had the privilege of having a meeting addressed by Justice Nagamuthu, former judge of the High Court, by virtual meeting. So these issues with regard to both encounter killings and custodial deaths certainly are violative of human rights. To what extent safeguards can be introduced, and to what extent checks and balances have to be brought about, these are all issues which have to be debated, and I am sure that Justice P.N.Prakash will throw some light on both the facts. And I have great pleasure in welcoming his lordship to be part of today's meeting, and also welcome all the advocates who have chosen the time to attend this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May we now request Mr. Justice P.N.Prakash to deliver the keynote address.
Good evening, Mr. Ravi, and all those on stage and off the stage. Nice to be amongst known people after a long 10 months in hibernation after my retirement. Well, this is a very interesting topic. When Ravi sounded this topic, I immediately grabbed it because this is something that is very dear to me, and I have the privilege of having appeared in almost all the encounter cases in the state of Tamil Nadu when I was a defense lawyer. My dear friends, now these cases, these encounter cases or custodial death cases have two narratives. One narrative is you'll always find people crying from rooftop and saying human rights violation, this, that, all the things that will happen. And there will also be a silent majority who will be condoning it. As Ravi pointed out, each of them will have to the credit about 50 cases, rape, this, that and all. And that could be a reason why the majority may not raise a serious issue. But the truth I had always found will be somewhere between these two narratives which will never be known to anybody. That is where an organization like this, Voice for Justice, is required. For example, in Manipur, there was so much of noise, and ultimately the team went there and said that there is a group which is holding on to the dead bodies and not giving the dead bodies for cremation. And if not for the intervention of Supreme Court, again there would have been yet another round of riots. So this is where, we have to have a very balanced approach to the whole thing. And now this crowd, this group which is a group of lawyers, I would like to really take you back a little back in evolution for you to understand the concept of all this. Please understand, evolutionarily, we have all come from the Darwinian theory from apes right down, we have come as human beings. The strength of human beings is that we were able to cooperate with each other, and that is why we were able to win over all those dinosaurs and all those animals which are far more superior to us, were won by us, not because of our talent and all. Individually, we cannot even fight a rat, but collectively we were able to fight all this, and we have succeeded as a species till this date. The secret of it is cooperation. Now, what was the jungle law? The jungle law was struggle for existence and survival of the fittest. You all know. Struggle for existence and survival of the fittest. It's only the fittest that can survive in the jungle. If an elephant is very old, the other elephants will just leave it at that, and after some time that old elephant will fall away. It will become a prey to other small animals, or it may fall a prey to a lion or a tiger or any other predator, and that's how it would go. But we human beings wanted to have a shift from this jungle law for the simple reason that we are human beings because of the development of the prefrontal cortex. Our faces were like this, it grew like this, we have a broad forehead, and this prefrontal cortex makes a difference between animals and us. Otherwise, we also would have been suffering the same instincts of struggle for existence and survival of the fittest. This prefrontal cortex helped us to take decisions collectively, cooperate, and take decisions, informed decisions. That's why we say we are a rational animal, because the rationality is here. The thinking process is here. Originally, all animals have got only two instincts. That is fight or flight. Is it not? You attack any animal, it will either try to run away. If it is caught in a corner, take a cat even. If you try to attack a cat, it will run away. But if you're going to put it in a room, it will fight back. So fight or flight is animal instinct. This animal instinct is always in us. The amygdala, which is here behind us, gives you the instinct of flight or fight. But the prefrontal cortex tells us that no, there is another third method where we can be intelligently handle this issue. This intelligently handling this issue has made us to develop institutions for struggle for existence and protection of the weakest. The mantra in the jungle is struggle for existence and survival of the fittest. The mantra in the human society is struggle for existence and protection of the weakest. That is why we have survived this long. Now, we have never abandoned the weakest. We have never abandoned our parents, grandparents, children. We have protected them at all stages. And all the institutions which we have created, my dear friends, all the institutions, whether your court, which is just opposite here, the building which has given me identity, is an institution created by us for protection of the weakest. The Fort St. George, from there the administration happens, the legislature happens, is an institution created by us for what? For protection of the weakest. So the weakest protection is our mantra. And this institution which we have created is centered around these two. Struggle for existence is common to all. There is no doubt about it. We are all struggling for existence. You people come over to the court, work, earn money, or every human being struggles for his existence. His existence of his family, his existence of identity. Our identity is very important, is it not? Identity, adayalam. In Tamil we say, it's something which is. So identity, our survival, our economic survival, all this struggle is no doubt there. But amongst the struggle, the end result is protection of the weakest. Whether this court is protecting the weakest or not, the thing is a different issue. I am not going to go into it because that is not the question of the thing here. But these institutions were created not when we were hunters and gatherers. When we were hunters and gatherers, we had nothing. We used to hunt, eat, finish. There was no property at all. When we shifted from hunting and gathering to agricultural people, where we stayed at a place and started farming, then the question of properties came. When property comes, along with which rights come. So property, family, when all this comes, a society is formed. And when a society is formed, we respect the rights of others, and we would expect others to respect our rights. So we prepare a rule game, a game where which we create institutions, and institutions are intended, as I told you earlier, to protect the weakest. This, please keep it in your mind. Whatever laws, whether Indian Penal Code, CRPC, Evidence Act, Indian Constitution, all this is intended only for that, namely protection of the weakest. Now, from this, let us shift to how this issue was being dealt at various stages in our civilization. Post-agricultural, we formed societies, we formed a concept of kingdoms. So the society feels that if weeds have to be found in the society, they have to be eliminated. Fundamentally. Let us go to Tirukkural. Tirukkural, there is one adhigaram, one chapter on administration by the king. Most of you would have read it. Thiruvalluvar says very, very clearly, Kolayir kodiyare vendurutthal, Payangulgalai kattadanodu neer. Kolayil kodiyare vendurutthal. King, how to protect the common people from people with criminal propensities, like removing the weeds from the society. Manu also says that. Manu in chapter 7, verse 110 of Manu thing also says that as a weeder weeds out the weeds and preserves the paddy plants in the field, so a king must protect the kingdom, that is loyal subjects, and destroy its enemies. So enemies are within, enemies are outside. This is both Valluvar says, Manu says, all of them say. This is a general statement. So this is a general statement which you have to do like this, they say. How to do it? How to do it? You may ask a question, sir, how to do it? Now, very interestingly, I found the methodology of doing it not in Tirukkural, not in Manu, but in Chanakya's Arthashastra. Arthashastra was written by Chanakya 2nd century BC to install Chandragupta Maurya as the Mauryan emperor. Chanakya, the problem is this, 25 books he has written, my dear friends, 25 books. And these manuscripts were got sometime in 1910 or 1905 in Mysore library. Somewhere we got manuscripts, original manuscripts we got. And those manuscripts were taken away by the Germans to Munich. In Munich, there is a Sanskrit Indological Institute is there at Munich in Germany, where these manuscripts were translated into German and English. Another set of manuscripts were also got, and Mysore University translated those into English. So we have an authentic English version of Arthashastra, which is a 25-book which contains everything, your criminal law administration, everything is found, including corruption of judges is found, including licensing prostitution in a society. How licenses have to be given, everything is there. But the thing is, in none of the law schools, the existence of this wonderful book has been taught. Nobody seems to know about it, and nobody cares for it, because in your struggle for existence, your survival is only most important. You don't have find time to acquire knowledge about all this. But at least now, these books are available, very cheaply available. Tamil version is there. If you are not very conversant with English, Tamil translations are available. You can take them and read. In that book number 4, a very interesting thing he says. Book number 4 reads to the removal of thorns. Earlier I told you, Valluvar says removing the thorns, Manu says removing thorns. This man says how to remove thorns. The biggest problem Chandragupta Maurya faced was that criminal tribes used to attack the villages and loot and plunder. So Chanakya says, what you will have to do is, we will have to catch hold of those fellows who were already involved in them. Then we must turn them as spies. You must turn them as spies, and once again you must send them back to those tribes with a message that this particular caravan is coming. You see, essentially, my dear friends, India is a country where traveling is part of our DNA. Traveling. Our people would travel from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, traveling and going. See, essentially, we were people on pilgrimages and bathing in holy rivers. People will come from there, have a bath in Bay of Bengal. Our people from here will go and have a bath in Ganges, Narmada. This is so the population was moving here and there, and they were being invaded by these criminals. So Chanakya says very cleverly, the best way is make them reform some of them into, make them as spies, plant them into the tribes, and given information, yes, one particular consignment, one big group is coming with lot of gold jewelry, create fake gold jewelry. He says, all it is there. I am not saying it is all in there. In Tamil it is there. You can read it. Create fake jewelry, load the caravan with fake jewelry, let the king's army disguised as ordinary people with the knives kept hidden and proceed. The moment these people attack this caravan, they will be killed by the soldiers who were there. So this is what is the idea which Chanakya had given in Arthashastra for elimination of weeds. Come down, British period we come. British period, the biggest problem we faced during the British period was 1750 to 1850. We faced the trouble of Thuggees. Thuggees were a group of people who were worshippers of goddess and were also not worshippers, but they had the pleasure of killing travelers. As I told you, traveling is part of our culture. Any traveler from thing, we didn't have this trains and other facilities then. People would naturally travel by road and they will carry all their goods, everything. Merchants would travel from here, there, all this would happen. So these Thuggees, what they used to do is, they used to disguise themselves, join the caravan, become friends of those people, and after a little long journeys or 2 to 3 days later, they will strangle. They love strangling people. They'll put a rope and strangle everyone for the fun of strangling. Not for nothing. For the fun of strangling. The pleasure of strangling. So, people, when somebody goes on travel, he doesn't return. So the family doesn't know whom to approach, where to go, why their father has not come, why the husband has not come. This problem was noticed by Lord Bentinck. Lord Bentinck was the Governor General of India. He noticed this problem. You know, in Porshokam, there's the Bentinck School. I don't know how many of you know in Vepri, there's a Bentinck School in the name of Lord Bentinck, who felt that something has to be done to this whole thing, because ordinary common people whose faith is to go on pilgrimages, who have business on foot, they used to go and sell their goods and come. It is obstructing their thing, so something has to be done. So the idea they thought was, there was one Colonel Sleeman was there. They said, all right, we'll adopt the same method of taking some of the Thuggees, then reforming them, planting these Thuggees into the tribes, get a confession of those Thuggees, and based on the confession, execute the thugs. Within a span of 2 years, if my memory serves me right, 1,670 thugs were executed, simply. Because the state had to do it because the Thuggees were posing a very great problem to peace-loving people. That is why in the Indian Penal Code, section 310 IPC defines a thug and defines the punishment for Thuggees. So thug is a problem which we faced during the British days, and that is how we handled thugs. Coming to the police, the concept of police was introduced by Sir Robert Peel. He was the Prime Minister of England, and until his coming into force, the king's soldiers were also performing the law and order issues. Because you have to entrust your protection to someone else. Every society had dabbled with this. Somebody, your protection, as I told you, protection of the weakest is our motto. How to hand over your protection to someone else. Indic civilization handed over the protection to a clan called Kshatriya. The Kshatriya is not a caste. The biggest thing is that Kshatriya is a varna, a noble ideal which one would want to aspire. Now, what is a Kshatriya? Who is a Kshatriya? Its definition is there. Kshatriya is defined as, even in chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, Shauryam Tejo Dhridarshdakshiyam Yuddhe Chapya Palayanam Dhanam Ishvara Bhavasya Shatram Karma Sobhavajam. Shauryam Tejo Dhridarshdakshiyam. A Kshatriya is a person to look at with strong muscles, bodybuilding, everything must be there. Smart. Shautriyam, Shero, there is Tejo Dhridarshdakshiyam. Dhridarshdakshiyam means when he takes a decision, this is it. Not going back. Dhridarshdakshiyam. Yuddhe Chapya Palayanam. In fight, you should never show your back. Fight to death. Dhanam Ishvara Bhavasya. If he's going to donate something, he will lordly, picha karma, not thing, lordly donation. Kshatram Sauri Sabhavajam. So a Kshatriya's character is, this is the character, not by birth. The problem is, we don't read anything. We just listen to all sorts of nonsense by people, and we think that this is a birth. Kshatriya is a quality. Krishna very clearly says, Chaturvarna Maya system, Guna Karma Vibhaga Saha. It is my creation. Guna and Karma, based on it, is there. It is not a caste. Kshatriya is not a caste. Kshatriya is a Varna, an ideal, a noble thing which, yes, please welcome, Solicitor General. I have the pleasure of welcoming you. So, we entrusted our protection to a group who has these qualities. Once you have a person, see, Guru Gobind Singh, what was the idea? Create a Kshatriya clan, a clan who would just Pancha Pyare, that is the five things, wear a kada, a kacha, and you are there to protect the common man. The Nayars are a Kshatriya clan. During Vijayanagaram Empire, they were the people who were protecting the whole thing. Nayar man cannot, at the age of 7, a Nayar will be sent for Kalaripattu to be taught by a Panikar. A Panikar is a Nayar of 65 years old who is an expert in Kalaripattu. Kalaripattu is a fight where we know that Indian film which Kamala Hassan, it's a wonderful thing where Marma, Garma, everything they knew. The Nayars were very tall, 6-footers. And there was a Malabar police created by British consisting of these tall Nayars. Absolutely, they can't even marry. Nayars cannot, that is, they have to dedicate themselves as a Kshatriya, they dedicate themselves to the cause of protecting the weakest. So the administration, so we were all safe when this clan of Kshatriyas were there, to whom we entrusted our protection, our property, our children, these people are protecting it. Come to this, the recent for 300 years history. As I told you, the concept of police was done by Robert Peel, and Robert Peel creates a police for civil administration, because he felt that soldiers cannot be used for civil administration, and there must have to be a civil police. So this thought, see, Robert Peel's idea of a civil police percolated into India, and until then, police administration was in the hands of magistrates. That is why in CRPC, you have magisterial work. Magistrate performs both a little amount of executive work as well as he performs judicial work, because earlier under the Cornwallis regulation, they were also maintaining law and order. So the concept of police as a civil thing was brought into India as London police was created by Robert Peel. And regulations were framed. Cornwallis regulations were to create police. Now, the Pakka police comes only when, 1857, the mutiny takes place. 1859, the Madras District Police Act comes. Madras District Police Act comes and constitutes a police force under the superintendence of the state government. I will come to that a little later, because there are serious problems in that legislation also. So it comes. Simultaneously, Indian Penal Code is drafted by Macaulay, handed over, and he goes. Now, Indian Penal Code, Macaulay was conscious of the fact that in the concept of state, the state has a monopoly for violence. Please understand. State has the monopoly for violence. There's no doubt about it. Only state can use violence. The concept of the present state which we are having, kingdom, forget the kingdom. Kingdom is gone now. The present state comes in the Westphalia, 1468, when the Protestants and the Catholics killed each other out of a 30-year war. They decided to have a truce in which states will be formed. Each will not respect the other's domain, other's sovereignty. This concept of state comes. Then now that has come to this level where we have a state as a nation, the people and a government. Various forms of government, communist form of government or democratic forms of government or any other form of government. So state, when it comes, state has to have certain powers for weeding out the undesirables. This is recognized by the Indian Penal Code itself, right of private defense, 96 sections, from 96 onwards, the right of private defense comes. Next is exception to section 300 IPC. Third exception to 300 IPC says that if culpable homicide, you understand 299 is culpable homicide, 300 is culpable homicide, what is murder? So, what is culpable homicide? Not amounting to murder. So, exception 3. If you take exception 3, it says that, yes, public servant, if he has to discharge a thing, if he is to cause death, it is not murder, but culpable homicide. 299 will come. Whereas, section 46 CRPC, please understand, IPC came, CRPC came, both of them came on 1/1/1862. Because you cannot have a CRPC, you cannot have an IPC without CRPC. Because they are two sides of the same coin. What is the point in having a substantive code of punishments without a procedural code of implementation? So the procedural code of implementation, it took that long for the British to prepare a CRPC, and both IPC and CRPC come on 1st January 1862. CRPC has the provision of arrest. Even now the present code, section 46, says that when the police officer goes to arrest a person, he can use all means under his command to effect the arrest, if the person who is wanting to arrest resists the arrest. So, resistance of arrest is there. All means including causing the death. So, this is the law. I am only telling you the law. See here, we are not on the correctness or otherwise of the law. We are here to say that the state has got certain. We recognize the fact that state has got certain power to weed out the undesirable elements, and those powers are embedded here. The private defense, 300 exception 3, CRPC 46. This triangle comes. Now, as long as the state is a very fair and equitable state, very manned by people who are constitutionally virtuous, as Dr. Ambedkar said, ultimately a constitution is good or bad depends upon the persons who handle the constitution. If they turn out to be a bad lot, the constitution will turn out to be bad. If they turn out to be a good lot, even a bad constitution will be good. This is what Dr. Ambedkar stated in the last day of 1949 speech, which we celebrate as Law Day and thing. You take the speech, a beautiful speech. So he would say that this is the meaning of it. Now, understand, this struggle of encounter in a state of our nature where democratic thing. In a democracy, what happens is, the decision-making process is distributed to a whole lot of people. Unlike a monarchy, if Chandragupta Maurya was the monarch, he had the decision-making process was his. He had the thing to take a decision. A Chola dynasty, Rajaraja Chola, a man of firm decision maker. He had the decision-making power. He would have his advisors and the inbuilt character in him. Because we were always been insisting on developing morals and ethics for kings. You take all our things, morality and ethics for the king, morality and ethics for the administrator. Once morality and ethics is there for the administrator, the common man can sleep peacefully. He need not have to question anybody. Morality and ethics for the judges also. You believe that we are moral and ethical, and therefore you, all right, even if you lose a case, you will say, all right, we'll take it up on appeal. You would not question the motive of the judgment, anything. Of course, what is happening today is a different issue. But this is what the institutions were built. Whether they are serving the same thing is a different issue. Now, what happens is, in a democratic setup, the problem is that the transition, electoral politics leads to competition. There is so much of competition that undesirable elements also gain some prominence through the medium of politics. We don't have Kamarajas and Kakans who were career politicians. They sacrificed everything for politics. They never make business proposition of politics. They were pure politicians who slept for, whose thought were only for the people. But as we grew, we found that politics had attracted undesirable elements because desirable people like you and me don't go to think that it is stinking. So when we keep away from politics, in nature there can never be a vacuum. In nature there can never be a vacuum. So somebody has to go and fill. So when undesirable elements fill the vacuum, they get political patronage. Now out of political patronage, what happens is they become a state within the state. They become a state within the state. Take Veerappan. Veerappan was controlling the forest, was it not? He was literally controlling. He was the king of the forest. He controlled the animals in the forest. He was able to take that cinema actor Rajkumar and keep him an abduction for this long time. And it was a law unto himself. He was running literally a kingdom. What do you need for a state? You need a boundary, you need people, you need sovereign powers. Veerappan was also adjudicating litigations, I am told. He was adjudicating, he was a court by himself. He was adjudicating litigations. And there's a mini court was going on. And this is not only peculiar to us, even in US, mafia is there. Mafia have their own territorial operation. They have a territory. They administer justice. They have their own norms. They have code numbers. Everything they have, and they are functional. So, when somebody becomes a state within a state and questions the authority of the state, what else can the state do? Punjab. Let us take Punjab. Punjab went out of our hands in 1980s. It just went out of our hands after Mrs. Gandhi took the firm decision to send the army into the Golden Temple. Thereafter, Punjab had gone almost out of, if not for Gill and Ribeiro and some people like Byan Singh and all who lost their lives, Punjab came back to India. Now in Northeast, still people say that it is the insurgents who run a state within Northeast. Even every government servant will have to pay them protection money. From salary it have to go. Every contract a cutting is have to go to them. Otherwise you cannot do it. What happens? How to say deal with it? Chhattisgarh, same problem. The Maoist. They were country within that, in the Bastar-Gistar region, they are ruling. It is their writ that runs. So they have a territory, their writ runs within a place, they can tax, they can have their own courts, they can settle disputes. So what will the common man do? Every common man, see, very interesting. You must read Macaulay's notes on the various sections. Notes, Minutes on notes, not minutes. Minutes was his speech in the council. Notes he has thing it and he has given. In that notes, I was very thing to find, speaking about private defense, he has written very clearly, Indians are basically simple people, peace-loving people. They will suffer injustice. Therefore, we have to have an extended right of private defense for Indians. People may even aggressively enter the house and they will also usurp the thing. So they must have to be given a free right of private defense is what his argument in that note. It's very, very interesting. Understand one thing, my dear friends. Indians all over the world, we are the most peace-loving people anywhere I can tell you this, because I have traveled. I was sent to US to study the terrorism thing there. I was shocked to know that when I went to Alcatraz prison, I was told by the superintendent that 33% of Americans come to jail. On the contrary, take Tamil Nadu, 7 crores is the population. We have 10 central prisons, 18 district jails, 15 sub-jails. Can anybody guess at one single point of time how many inmates will be there, including remand, women, Gundas Act? Everything put together in all these jails, just make a small guess out of 7 crore population. Anybody guess how many? Tomorrow go and a head count of all these jails. What do you think, Mr. Rajendran, will be the population in the jails? 9,000. That's too much. All right. 25,000 is what the 25,000 in 7 crores is just 0.00000% it is. So essentially ours is not a criminal society. Ours is a society of peace-loving people. So for this peace-loving people, what happens is right of private defense has been extended and given to us, and state has got certain duties to protect us. And in the protection of it, when a particular person is grow beyond and going to challenge the state resorts to this sort of thing. Like you could never have possibly brought Punjab into control. You could never have brought Chhattisgarh into control. You could never have brought Kashmir into control. Kashmir has been brought into control both by proactive action by the agencies as well as thing. So encounter as it is what appalls us is when an encounter takes in our neighborhood, when an encounter takes amongst a person in our locality, that as Mr. Ravi pointed out, could be disturbing. Yes, indeed disturbing. But what could be the reason for this? The simple reason for this, I can tell you, is that criminalization of politics is one thing. And you see, as he rightly said, they have political patronage. In Uttar Pradesh, there were 2 brothers who were something. The number of cases against them was shocking. Where Human Rights Commission has given a list. It states that what are the reasons for this. First and foremost reason I would say is civil justice has failed. Civil court has failed to deliver timely justice. The failure of civil court to deliver timely justice has resulted in people going and taking the help of anti-social elements. The moment civil court justice is strengthened, then 50% of our people would not go to anti-social elements, because our people have a tendency to either go to the police and say, please help me in evicting that fellow, or local gunda and say, helping fellow. That is it. So civil justice has to be strengthened. The way we are going about the administration of civil justice in this country makes us think. In India, 302 cases are not murder at all. Most of them are culpable homicide, not amounting to murder. Because if you see the background of the cases, there will be a civil dispute which would have become a criminal, a fight. What the problem I have found as a judge is that it is our great friends in the cross-examination, they make it from 304 to 302 and ensure that he doesn't come out at all and suffers life imprisonment. We are forced to go through the CD and then convert it to 300. I used to think, because we were trained in Rajamanikam. First thing Rajamanikam sir would say, prepare a defense. Trichy Reddyar will say, prepare a defense. It's all 304 part 1 or part 2. Concede these points. Come to 304. If you get 10 years imprisonment, come to High Court, reduce it to 4 years. Then you will get Anna's centenary, MGR centenary, all centenary. Hardly you will be in prison for 2 years. Whereas our people ensure that in the cross-examination, all sorts of questions are asked, and even we judges are not able to convert it to 304 part 1 or part 2, confirm for 302. This is a sorry state of affairs. That's the problem. Why I am saying is that, coming to this question of encounter, this is what, when somebody is going to grow beyond the power of the state, what happens? This happens. NHRC, just M.N. Venkatachalaya was the chairman. They have listed some of the reasons, very, very interesting. One reason is the entire criminal justice system is shaky. They have stated. I am going to add it by saying that the civil justice system has shaken, on account of which there is a tendency to convert all civil cases to criminal cases, and there are people who have come within the thing to become extra constitutional authorities to settle disputes, and they become a state on their own. Next, he says that the middle class are totally oblivious to this. In fact, he says that pressure by political masters to show quick results is one reason, NHRC says. Educated middle class generally approve of it. Thirdly, civil justice and criminal justice has failed. the retributive justice has come. So today the middle class, which is very prominent in the social media, it is they who are creating the public opinion. If somebody is going to be encountered, you will find you will find voices this way and that way, one supporting the other thing, and you will have narratives. God alone knows how much of these narratives are true, how much of the narratives are not true. Then the power of the police. The power of the police, as I told you, under the 1859 Act, which later on 1861 Act, the police is an organization which is constituted by the state, and its loyalty is only to the state. Indian police is not for Indian citizens, because the British who were ruling us wanted this act in such a way that the police force was created by the state and the police were loyal to them because they had to run the alien government here. Post independence, I think we should have done something to make the police an independent force. If we had made the police an independent force like a Scotland Yard or a Federal Bureau of Investigation, then there could be all these problems, 50% of these problems could be solved. But whether we can trust our police to be independent or not is another $1 million question. So the police is today an arm of the government. Otherwise, you will not find them registering a case against persons in power. If an ordinary, because they are not there to protect the citizens, they are there to protect the government. Their loyalty is to the government, whichever government comes. So irrespective of the political party, their loyalty is to the government that rules. So when a government when a person in the government commits an offense, corrupts, takes money, a minister or somebody, no affair is registered. When it is registered, when he loses power and the opposite party comes to power, affair is registered. So what was the police doing right when all these things are happening? Do you mean to say that they do not have the intelligence? They have the intelligence, but their loyalty is to state. The Indian police loyalty to the state is so evident, so axiomatic, that General Dyer, when he ordered the police to and the people to fire, they simply fired. The people who fired were Indians. The people who got killed were Indians. None of them turned the gun and shot at Dyer. Dyer knew so well that these fellows will not do it. Their loyalty to the state is so much that they will not do it. Dyer was so confident. Anywhere else they would have, boss, what is it? The women and children, why the hell should I shoot? I will rather shoot you. But our police will never do that because their loyalty is the salute to the persons in power. And once you're out of power, even if you're a DGP of police, they'll put a race against you. They'll put but they have no qualms about it. Say, he was my DGP. Nah, that's over, sir. He's not retired. I'll put a case against you. That is why, everyone wants to be in power somewhere or the other, because this is where it works, this dynamics work. So encounter killing, this problem is in a civil society, in a place like Tamil Nadu, where we can really strengthen the civil justice system and also consequently the criminal justice system. As Macaulay said, punishment for crime, that is, the enormity of sentence will not stop crimes, but the certainty of punishment. Today, certainty of punishment is not there in our system. When certainty of punishment is not there, retributive justice comes. Retributive justice comes when it goes to the extra constitutional authorities like rowdy fellows, like Katta Panchayatdars, who sometimes become MLAs, ministers, and they start calling the shots. Then when they are out of power, like Atik was minister there for Uttar Pradesh for so many years, and the problem we find is the legislatures are about 30% of our legislatures have criminal cases, serious criminal cases. That is what the statistics says. So the power is shifted to these people, and one fine morning, when their excesses exceeds the limit, this encounter business comes. Until then, what were the criminal justice system doing? Why was the criminal justice system not able to conduct the trials and punish these fellows? Because as Ravi pointed out, each of them had over 10 murder cases and 20 murder cases. What happened to the murder cases? Murder cases, trials never go on until witnesses are suborned thing. So we ourselves, we lawyers ourselves have contributed to the failure of the civil justice system and criminal justice system, and it is very difficult for us to now to cry from the rooftop that there is encounter killings are happening. Encounter killings could be stopped only when we ensure that civil and criminal justice system delivers the goods efficiently, effectively, and sends a clear message to the common man, to those who want to take law into their hands, that no, this system will catch you up immediately. Until then, this problem will be have to face, and we will have to have commissions of inquiries every time and try to solve it. We will never be able to find a solution to this in the present scenario. Coming to custodial violence. Custodial violence is a little different from this encounter killings. Custodial violence is the power of the police to arrest. The power of the police to arrest has, this power has been to a very large extent controlled by the various provisions of the CRPC. But custodial violence has become very rampant because two things. Police is not independent. The independent nature of the police is more essential to ensure a fair and impartial investigation. The Supreme Court in Prakash Singh v. Union of India found this difficulty and told very clearly, take the police, insulate them from political interference, other interference, at least investigation, law and order, let it be in the hands of the executive. At least create a situation whereby the investigation wing is made independent, is what police Prakash Singh versus thing. But till date, 2007 judgment, we are in 2023, no political party is willing to divest its power of control over the police. Mrs. Indira Gandhi used the police during emergency to break the opposition. But when opposition came to power and Janata came to power, they used the same police to arrest Indira Gandhi. And she came back to power in 1980. So the police is a convenient tool in the hands of the powers be it, and the arrest powers is there. Arrest powers is required for the police for the purpose of investigation. In our country, the problem is a confession to police is inadmissible. There are four countries, four jurisdictions: Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, and Ceylon. The confession is inadmissible, whereas rest of the jurisdictions throughout the world, a confession is admissible. What becomes admissible? Any recovery made pursuant to a confession is admissible. So what happens is, police perforce want to take a person into custody to satisfy these legal requirements and to conduct a recovery. And in custodial interrogation, what happens is, yes, excesses do take place. As you pointed out in Satamkulam and other places, the excesses did take place. And these excesses are because of various reasons. Obviously, we cannot pigeonhole it into one single reason. Sometimes it could also happen that when we ourselves lose something in our house, a robbery takes place or something takes place. We go, even in one of the movies it was there. Says you catch up the criminal. Please, criminal, would you kindly tell me whether you have taken the house? He is not going to say that. So we ourselves say, you give him 2, sir, and then he will confess. It is the public which says. So when he gives 2, or he make it 3 or 4, he dies. So custodial violence is sometimes our own thing. It is because we have not understood, we put so much of pressure on police to get our things done, and that necessarily, because once you concede an extra power to the police, then the Lakshman Rekha becomes very blurred. What is, he may serve you for X purpose, he may use the same X purpose as Y, Z purposes. So this problem is there. But of late, our judiciary has risen to the level to control this custodial interrogations. We are not giving custody. Even the criminal rules of practice which we have framed and given to you, taking custody has become, we made it very, very difficult to ensure that custody is not that easily given to the police. Because we know that yes, these certain parameters have to be laid down for custody. And custody is there for the political masters to shame their opponents. So that is also there. And custody is, you will find that our jails are mostly filled with people below the poverty line. This is my experience. The rich are able to manage, the poor become the victim of police thing, and they don't get good legal assistance from the remand onwards. Whereas the rich are able to muster the best of the lawyers, and they are able to create a traffic jam in the administration of justice. The poor just visit the jails, because I have been working for the last 1 year in the Pattam and Paravai projects along with Ravi Kumar Paul, at least 4 years. We were all trying to, we found that people who are in the jails are posed at the very, very lower level. That is the situation all over the country. So the arrest only chases them. It doesn't chase the rich. The rich are able to manage. They are able to get admitted to the Apollo hospital and remain there for long. There is one accused in Uttar Pradesh who remained in Tirupati or something. He was in, even after conviction, he remained in hospital until he was released. So this problem of custodial interrogation is staring at us, but to a very large extent, Tamil Nadu with this strong human rights thing, we have brought it to a control. But Sathamkulam happened because it was an aberration that happened during COVID times. It was an aberration that happened in COVID times, and for this they are now facing the music now. They are facing the charge under Section 302 IPC, and the trial is still not over. This is the problem. The sympathy changes slowly over a period of time. From victim, the sympathy changes to the accused. And after all, you see, this is because we Indians are essentially very, very simple people at heart. Our thing, we are prepared to forgive and forget everybody. So that attitude shifts. Initially, there will be euphoria, put him in jail, etc. And then it just dilutes. So custodial interrogation is 176 CRPC has been amended to say that when a custodial death takes place, the magisterial inquest should have to be done. This has helped a lot. Magisterial inquest in Sathamkulam case, I remember, had helped me in taking several decisions. We were sitting in Madurai. The magistrate had the power to conduct inquest under 176, and the inquest report provided a lot of information. Otherwise, it would have been revenue officer's report, it would have been a farce. So judiciary has now an active role to play in custodial thing. Custodial thing is that yet another safeguard that there is, our magistrates are required to go and inspect every police station at least weekly once. If all that happens, to a very large extent, they can find out how people are kept in illegal custody or not. That again does not happen because there are so many problems at the magisterial level that they have no time to go and inspect the sub-jails. That is, no, not sub-jails, the lockups. The magistrates are required to inspect the lockups every week, every fortnight, and send a report to the Chief Judicial Magistrate. To that extent, we have got a very sound magistracy, sound rules. But whether it happens at the ground level is yet another $1 million question. And we as enlightened citizens will have to ensure that such things, such regular practices happens, and police sensitize. How the police administration was able to get over Prakash Singh's case was, Prakash Singh's case said that a DGP should have to have a minimum of 2 years in power. You must have a thing. Very cleverly what they do is they will make a known person a DGP at the age of 59. So that at 60, he gets 2 years, extra 2 years to become the DGP, to continue as DGP. This is the method the politicians have found out to circumvent the Supreme Court judgment. So this tussle between the judiciary and the executive will always be there. And we enlightened citizens will have to support the magistracy at the taluk level and make the magistracy a very strong institution to avoid all this custody and other things. Encounter killings, I tell you, my only apprehension is in days to come, there may be drone encounters. There may be drone encounters. There is no point in nobody is going to carry gun shoot. Drones will do. And God willing, if drones are going to come into the hands of antisocial elements, we are finished. Let's hope that that day does not come, and we ensure that because technology could it is accessible to anybody. Drone encounters will leave no amount of judicial inquiry or 170 inquiry is going to help. So this is my real apprehension, and with this I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to be with you. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful speech. We now request Mr. A.R.L.Sundaresan, Additional Solicitor General of India, to address the gathering.
Honorable Justice Prakash, my dear friend Mr. Senior Advocate Mr. Ravi, the dignitaries on the dais, my dear friends and colleagues. I thank my friend Mr. Ravi for having invited me to preside over this function, but I should apologize that rather than being present here before the others come and before the chief guest and the speaker comes, I was late and I thought that I'm not going to give the presidential address and I'll be proposing the vote of thanks. It was a real pleasure listening to the erudite speech of Justice P.N.Prakash. அவங்கள பற்றி சொல்லவே வேண்டாம். He is one who has been on the prosecution side from day one under the guidance of Rajamanikam sir, and the way in which he was holding court as a single judge and presiding over the benches, the number of judgment which he has rendered. Never fear to acquit where a case deserves acquittal, and never fear to give the harshest punishment where the case deserves that the harshest punishment has to go. The way in which judgment was rendered about silent witnesses, I am able to recall in Madurai, where no witness was coming to speak. The Honorable Judge said that the videos and the photographs and the other evidences is there. They are silent witnesses, and in days to come, that will be what we have to look into. And we are really grateful that Your Lordship has accepted this invitation from my friend and participated in this function. And this is the second year I am participating here. And last year, the day on which I assumed office as ASG, I was here, and today it is that day. It is 19th of December. And I'm really glad that I'm in the presence of all these colleagues and friends. And every year, the forum chooses a very good topic. Last year, it was about all the facilities and other things which was available. Justice Nagamuthu was here, and he spoke about the facilities which should be provided to women in schools, workplaces, etc. And this year, encounter killing. These are things which we have to discuss for the purpose of taking stock of our own situation. Don't fear to blame ourselves. Encounter killing is bad. Custodial violence is bad. But then it is like audit. Why it is happening and whether it should continue. And what are the steps that is to be taken. If we have to live with it, we have to live with it. And who is the cause? All that has been spoken to by Justice Prakash so well. I am very glad that I at least came here and was able to listen to 75 or 80% of the speech. I thank the organizers for having invited me. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now request Mr. Shri Ganapati to present the memento to Mr. Justice P.N.Prakash on behalf of VFS. We request Shri Kalyan to present a memento to Mr. A.R.L.Sundaresan on behalf of Voice for Justice. May we now request Shri Kalyan, Trustee for Voice for Justice, to render the vote of thanks.
Thank you one and all for this wonderful gathering today. We thank Justice P.N.Prakash for his fabulous lecture today. He spoke about encounter killing and custodial violence. he gave us a pretty good idea of the reasons behind it and how to mitigate this problem. Thank you, sir, for this wonderful talk of yours. We thank Additional Solicitor General Sundaresan, sir. Thanks for coming and gracing the function. And Sri Karthikeyanji, thanks for coming. It's a wonderful. We also thank all the senior people, the senior advocates and the advocates who have come to come and grace the function. Thanks for accepting our invitation and coming over here. There are some people who have come a little late because they were occupied with official work. A good news is that the entire speech of his will be uploaded. Okay, so you can all have you will have the clear opportunity to listen to this in our website, Voice for Justice website. We have some snacks ready for you people. Kindly join us for these snacks. Thank you so much.
May we now request the guests to raise for the national anthem. Request all the guests to stay back and have the high tea, please. Thank you.